Well, I always think like, how could I burn brighter so that other people around me are like feeling the heat?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right?
I like that.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, what do I need to do where people are like, oh, I need to get on this motherfucker's level.
Yep.
And I want to be around him
Yep.
and like push forward with him.
Welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show.
What's going on, Eagles? My name is Joey, and welcome to the Fuel Hunt Show. I'm joined today by Drew. I'm always joined by Drew, my cousin and co-founder. But today we're also joined by a very special guest, a man that needs no introduction. Owner of Strong New York, owner of the Strength Club, New York City. Putter Honor, Maestro, MC of the largest fitness expo in New York City, right?
Yeah.
Kenny Santucci and many other things. So
I appreciate that. There's
So-
a lot of people who don't ever do the research, right? You ever go on a podcast and people are like, oh,
this guy.
Yeah,
That's not how we
saying
are.
shit wrong, and
That's
you're
not-
like,
we know
hey, fuck
everything.
that up.
Yeah.
We know the good things and the bad things.
I figured I'd just keep it short. You know what I mean? We don't got to get into everything. So we were talking before the show, and I mentioned like our community members know who you are. I have a funny story about a friend of mine, but we'll get into that later. Our community knows who you are. They know what you've done. What they're really interested in is how you've done it, right? So I want to go all the way back to young Kenny, growing up in an Italian-American family, right? And I think you and Drew have maybe some similar stories in the beginning around fitness, right? And I want to take it all the way from there forward to who you are now and the impact that you're having on society. So let's start as a kid, growing up where?
Newark, New Jersey, which a lot of people, when I tell them I grew up in Newark, they're like, no way, you're white though. I'm like, yeah, that I am. But grew up in Newark, New Jersey. My dad was a cop there, so he was one of these guys who just never wanted to leave. I was born in 83, so all through the 80s and 90s, I was in Newark, which at the time was the car theft capital of the world.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a shithole. And I remember there was 4 times my father's car was stolen out of the front of our house.
Dude, you know what? So we have a lot in common, but we're similar ages, similar thing. Like,
old heads.
yeah, and I'm like even now, like I'm a neighborhood kid. Like I'm never gonna leave Philly.
Yeah.
Like, same type mentality. But one thing that we have in common that I just realized is every time we moved to a different neighborhood in Philly, it was because our car got broken into multiple times in front of the house.
Yeah, my mom would always be like, we gotta move. And my dad's like, we're not going anywhere. I'm like, all right.
Yeah.
So it was, we were well protected, but it was still a pretty rough neighborhood. I mean, the first time I got beat up, I was 7, and the next time I was 11.
Yeah.
I played sports in Newark, but I went to a grammar school in Nutley, then went to a all guys Catholic high school in Jersey, in Jersey City. And for me growing up, I like to eat, and my grandmother loved to feed me. So I plumped myself up to a good 230 going into high school. So I was about 5'5", 230. And people are like, no way, you were that big? I was like, yeah, I was pretty big. Like I remember in 5th grade, we went to the doctor, and my parents were like, my doctor told my parents, they're like, you got to put this kid on a diet.
Yeah.
And I was like 10, 11 years old.
You were on the pasta and bread diet.
Oh my God, everything. No, my grandmother used to give us in the morning, if we stayed at her house, she'd give us like a cup of tea, right? Or coffee, and then bread and butter. So I'd eat like a loaf of bread and butter and wouldn't think twice about it. Yeah. And I fucking loved it. I love bread and butter.
Some butter on some white bread, dude. It
hits.
hits.
It hits.
Even if you toast it, it's delicious.
Well, now we all know how bad white bread is.
Yeah.
But 1991, everybody was fucking eating white bread. Nobody had a problem with that shit.
I grew up on white bread, and I put pasta on the white bread. Like
Yeah.
I would, like whatever.
Oh my God,
dude,
remember, like spaghetti sandwiches that you would make
Yeah,
dinner?
dude.
All the time.
I mean, I have a similar journey, obviously. Like I was sophomore year, like 267 was my highest.
267.
Yeah, and I think it's just the ignorance of not knowing what the foods we were eating at that time were doing to us.
But here, and this is my argument with a lot of people today, right? At that time, we're about the same age. At that time, there wasn't internet. There wasn't so much focus on health and wellness. Like people were actually, every one of us probably had a birthday at like McDonald's or Burger King or some shit. It was a treat. It was like, oh, it's your birthday, we'll go to McDonald's. Nowadays, everyone knows how bad this shit is.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what frustrates me the most. Is like there's no excuse now.
There's
Like,
no excuse
There's no
anymore.
excuse to be unhealthy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the information is readily available to you.
We were getting it in the morning too with the cereal. Like
Oh
the
my God.
sugary cereal,
Cereal's
man.
horrible.
The worst way
Yeah.
to start our day.
Yeah.
A bowl of sugar.
Yeah.
Like,
The worst way to start your day.
And we started every day like that.
Yeah.
And it was like I was eating cookies for breakfast. That was their tagline: cookies for breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How ridiculous does that sound?
But even, I mean, we would congregate. I mean, Italians, Irish, everybody's the same shit. After a meal, it's like, oh, we're going to have cake and coffee now.
Yes.
So now you're like, we would eat pastry 4 or 5 times a day. It was horrible for you. Like, I didn't think of nothing as a kid to crush a box of Pop-Tarts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I'd eat all 3 packs or 4 packs. What was
I
ever
would
in
like
there.
what's the cookies for breakfast? What was that?
Cookie crisp.
Cookie crisp.
Yeah.
Dude, I would murder a box
Yeah.
of Cookie Crisp. One sitting.
Oh yeah, I feel so bad too. 'Cause my mom, like God bless her, she had me on the Atkins diet in 5th grade. Like
No
we would
shit.
go out for pizza with our
For
friend,
real?
with our family. Like, I tell this story all the time, but we would go out to pizza with our family friends, and I would have to get a cheesesteak with no bread and in a bowl, like a tin foil, like a
No shit.
bowl, and everyone else would be eating pizza.
Now that's the thing. Dude.
But it didn't. Nothing worked until exactly. Now it's cool.
Yep.
But nothing worked until like I flipped that switch in high school.
Well, and that, I think it got to a point where, and I think this holds true for a lot of things in life, you have to hit rock bottom, whether it's work, relationships. You know, I was at a point when I was in 8th grade, and I remember looking in the mirror and looking at myself and being like, and everybody was talking about like who's gonna kiss who at the 8th grade party and shit, and no one brought me up, and I'm like, I don't like me.
Yeah.
I look like shit. I need to change this. And I said to myself, I remember that day, I go, as soon as I get to high school, I'm going to start playing sports and I'm going to work out because there's a gym at my high school.
Yeah.
And from that day on, I graduated. I got into high school. I was like 230.
Yep.
I finished my freshman year. I was like maybe 200. And then by the end of my
go.
sophomore year, I was 160.
Yeah, let's go.
So it was like, but I worked at, but the information wasn't on Google. I had to go, I was stealing like muscle and fitness magazines and muscular development from, grocery
from the
stores
grocery
and shit.
stores. Yeah, convenience store.
And I
Yeah.
would take the magazines to the gym and like just do like different workouts, like Lee Priest arm workout and shit.
Yeah.
So that's how I learned. And I
that's
remember
amazing.
like a picture of Ronnie Coleman, and he was like crushing 2 bottles of soda. And he's like, you should never drink soda and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, wait, why shouldn't I drink soda? Like, I had no idea that it was bad for you. It's like, this is the shit your family's giving to you.
Yes.
So you didn't know any better. Now it's like, now you're educated. Now you have every girl with a great ass and fake tits online being like, don't do this, don't do that. It's like, all the information's there.
Yes.
There's no reason why people shouldn't be in the best shape of their lives right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, now the unfortunate thing is you had that moment when you looked in the mirror and you said, enough is enough. Like,
Yeah.
I don't even like me.
Yeah.
Now, in this day and age, you will be able to find people that tell you it's okay.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
healthy and it's
That's-
not, but it's not.
No.
You know what I mean? It's absolutely not. So that's the thing. The information's freer, but then also now there's these
Yeah, now you have
enclaves.
this other side where back then people be like, well, it's not great to be heavy. And nowadays, it's like we encourage bad behavior. Everything from drug use to being overweight to fucking pretending you're something you're not.
Yep.
Yep.
It's
every aspect of life is just like, we just sugarcoat it with shit. It's like, it's the worst possible situation. Everybody's like, well, just sprinkle some shit on it and we'll make it a whole lot better.
Yep.
We have such similar, like literally exact same journey. My girlfriend broke up with me, and I was like, no other girl is ever going to want to hook up with me if I fucking look like this. So I went with my mom, and I'm like, Mom, how do I lose weight? And she said, eat chicken and run. And that's like what I did, and I.
It's actually some pretty good
It's
advice.
actually
Yeah.
solid, yeah.
Dude, I got so skinny. I went from 267 to like 140.
Holy shit.
'Cause I
And
literally-
was that in high school? How old were you?
Yeah, like my freshman, sophomore, going into sophomore
Is
year.
that
Were
when
you
you were
playing
wrestling
sports?
too?
No, I started wrestling after that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I kind of started withering away because all I was doing was like crazy cardio. Like I couldn't run, so I had to ride a bike, and I just like I wasn't doing any push-ups, pull-ups, anything. I was just running.
And like that's another misconception, right? Like even one of my coaches, I was talking to her before, and she's like, I just went for a 2-mile run. I go, did you lift today? And she's like, no. I go, what do we talk about every fucking day? If you have the choice between lifting and running, Go lift.
Yep.
Right?
Go lift.
I tell everyone that. I don't care if you're 5 or 105. Get out there, like push some weight around.
Yep.
You know, and it's so important. Like even today, I was at this event. Do you guys know who Ben Bruno is?
Yes.
Great dude.
Yeah.
Really, it's the first time I've ever met him. I've been following him forever. He's good friends with a bunch of buddies of mine. And he did this event with Owen today in the city. So I went to that this morning. And there was a couple women just like kind of picking his brain. They're like, I don't want to get too bulky. So what should I do? And I'm like, I can't believe this is still
happening,
like a thing, you know? But like, just like we said, people are like, oh, it's okay to be fat because, you know, this person says it and that person says it.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right.
Yeah,
If
there's
Lizzo
still-
thinks it's so okay to be fat, why should she fuck all these jacked guys? Right? Like, you ever see the guys that Lizzo's with?
Use
they
logic.
all look like
Use logic.
they all look like bodybuilders and shit.
Well, like you're saying, like the information's out there, but so is the misinformation.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
Right.
There's
so like,
information overload.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons why I did strong. I go, because there's people would ask me same stupid question all the time. I go, listen, you're clearly not listening to me. Let me bring in an expert and have them tell you exactly what you should be doing.
And that it's interesting you said 5 or 55 because I get a lot of Parker, my son, he lifts. Like we nothing. I don't go too crazy. Like, that's an hour session, but he's squatting, he's lifting kettlebells.
Movements.
Yeah, he's with weight.
Yeah.
And everyone's the stunt your growth things come up, and I'm like, if a kid can sit there and
There's
play
no
video
scientific
exactly
study behind
But
that.
if you're telling me it's better for your kid to sit there and play video games and eat bonbons all day than it is for my son to pick up something heavy and move with it, then you're crazy.
to be honest, just to play video games all day and be sedentary.
Yeah.
Like you can't.
You should see
I
some of these
remember
kids,
my
dude.
family waited till I was 13 to get me my first weight set for the basement because they didn't want to stump my growth.
My mom said 16.
That was like a thing.
Well, that was part
Like,
of
that's
the
the
why
thing.
I got so skinny because my mom said 16 I couldn't start lifting weights. So
Yeah.
and to the video games thing is like some of these kids in school and on the teams he's on, they have no attention span whatsoever. They're
I
like
know.
literally like just jumping around, looking like because they're
Is
all
it-
day
is-
stimulated
is
on the
it-
screen.
Is a shame. I mean, my daughters are young still, but we don't do. People think I'm crazy. We don't do tablets. We don't do phones.
Great.
They don't use them.
Yeah.
Same.
And they watch TV 2 days a week.
But
TV
now, how
days
many
to begin
fucking
with T,
but
Tuesday and Thursday.
How many people are like, oh my god, he's a psycho? That
Yeah.
he's
Oh,
a
think I'm a
crazy
drill
fuck-"
sergeant.
We get it
Yeah.
all the time, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, they think I'm a drill sergeant.
Yeah.
But
It's like out of the ordinary to be
Normal.
Yes.
doing the things you should be doing for your kids.
exactly, my girls are creative. They have solid reasoning.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? They problem solve really well because they have an attention span, and they can stay focused on something
Yeah.
for more than 6 seconds.
There was that study that they did, even with like, I guess it was like rats or mice or something.
Mm-hmm.
When they gave them good food, they were like they could find their way out of this maze.
Yeah.
Whereas like when they gave them shitty food,
Yeah.
their brains didn't
I
function.
watched.
as well.
I think I watched something like that on Instagram the other day. But they showed you giving the mice healthy food, and he climbed up that like to this out
And
of
they
this
gave
water.
them cookie
Yeah,
crisp.
yeah.
And then they gave him cookie crisp and white bread, and they were unable. It took him double,
Brain
quadruple the
fog. Brain
time.
fog, bro.
and
It
was all-
really
it's like
does
a-
fuck with your brain. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, think about it, right? Like anything, like any other fuel source,
Mm-hmm.
if it's a good fuel source, it's going to help whatever engine you're trying to run more efficiently.
Yep.
So if I were to put dirt in the engine of a Ferrari, it's
Yep.
probably not going to run as good as if I put, like, I have a buddy who's a complete fucking wackadoo. He lives out in LA, and he puts jet fuel in his, he's got a BMW.
Yeah.
And he's like, dude, the car runs significantly better, but you have a more pure form of
Yeah,
fuel that
absolutely.
you're putting in it.
Yeah,
It's like,
absolutely.
And that's one thing that's hard to instill my son. Like he gets it. I said at baseball last night. I said like, they were giving him free hot dogs at the snack shack at the end. I said, "Oh, you want one?" And he was like, "No, I'm good." And then later when we were eating steaks, I said like, "Why didn't you want a hot dog?" He said, "I want to be healthy." And I was like,
That's
"Damn,
great.
like
Yeah,
yeah,
that's
parenting win there,
That's
dude."
good.
I think
That's good.
our kids' generation, right?
Oh,
they're
you're-
going to be so
you're already seeing
light
it.
years ahead because now we've seen what our parents did,
Yeah.
right? And then this generation younger than us, where it's like everybody's a fucking snowflake.
Yep.
And then now you're like, all right, I don't want my kids to be that. Let me improve on this situation.
Yes.
And this next generation, like I'd say kids under the age of 12 are going to be the best from like 12 to like
It's
2
interesting
years.
you see this trend of like homeschooling and people
Oh,
eating
yeah.
eating
It's
living
so
off
common.
the grid, eating like just kind of like going back away from this society we've
Yeah.
created.
Yeah. They're taking control back.
Yeah.
They're taking control back what they put in their mouth, what they put in their ears, their
Yeah.
eyes,
Yeah.
everything. And it's
It's-
making a much better human.
Because think of how toxic our parents and parents' lives were, like going like what they would eat, and then what they would wake up and do, and they go to work, and they come home and sit and watch the news, and just like
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
think
yeah.
about it. Our grandparents' generation, our parents' generation, have come up with more, diseases and problems within the body that they say, oh, well, you can't fix that. Arthritis and osteoporosis and all these things that are like, well, it's just lack of movement, right? Heart disease, diabetes, all these things are just poor diets. All those things didn't exist or they weren't as common
Yes.
100 years ago.
Yep.
We've developed all this shit within the last 100
Because
years.
of our lifestyle
Because of
habits.
our life, yeah.
And one of my big beliefs is that every problem has a solution, and I feel that way about health too. Like, I had some anxiety at one point about health, and I literally just did what I know best and researched like, okay, what do I do? Like, how do I stay healthy? Because I want to be here as long as I can for my son.
Yeah.
And I've realized that even health problems have solutions, because back in the day, we'll say they believe, oh, these things just happen.
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
No, like
Yeah.
they don't just happen.
Yeah.
Cause
they
and- cause
say
and effects are real
95% of it is environment, and actually what we're doing, 5% of it is genetics. So everybody's like, oh, my family's fat, so I'm fat, so it's a genetic thing. It's like, not necessarily. You could be a skinny person in a fat family. I mean, I always say to people, everybody's like, well, it's because of stress or it's because of somebody's thyroid. I go, okay, go to fucking Ethiopia. See how many people have a thyroid issue there,
Yeah.
or stress is making them heavy. You know, it's like we only look at it from like this one angle.
Yes.
We never like look at it anywhere else.
I think people don't look at it from all the other angles because they don't want to take ownership, because
Oh,
taking
yeah.
ownership of
It's
the
just easier.
situation is difficult,
Yeah.
right? Because you're in complete control and it's your
Yep.
fault and you have to solve it.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm
that's why
curious
it's easier to go get a pill.
For your guys' thoughts on this, though, we say like there's trends and a lot of people are understanding now, or is this just the environment in which we operate in? Like, think about your day. You go to Strong, you hang around with certain people.
Yeah.
You're in the health. Like, same with like we're around Few Hunt, the few people that care about their health, care about what they're putting in their bodies. Is there actually a societal trend, or is it just the bubble
Well,
we're
yeah,
in?
I think it's
think
just the
there is.
bubble we're in.
Yeah.
I think it's because if you go to like Orlando, Florida or some shit, I mean, it's like you're on another fucking planet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're the change agents. You know, us, our kids, like
Yeah.
we're going to be the change agents for that next
Yeah.
generation that's going to be stronger. You
But,
know what I mean?
But I'll tell you what, like, I think we're the right now, we're the minority. We're the type of people who are like going that extra mile. Whereas like when you see most people walk down the street, I do it all the time with my coaches and stuff. I'll take people outside and be
Yeah.
like, all right, count the amount of people you think have a gym membership or been to the gym in the last 2 months.
Yep.
What's crazy? I got friends that won't even change things, and they have me breathing down their necks. I'm like, I'm everything they say.
It's
I'm like,
hard,
that's-
man. It's hard for people to come around. Like the information we're talking about, nutrition, lifestyle, exercise. Like we're talking about that information being free flowing.
Yeah.
That's hard to take ownership of, absorb, and control. But some of the stuff starts in the mind, and that information's there too to change your mindset. But that's even more difficult to take ownership of.
It almost goes
It's
back
there
to
for a
what
lot of
Kenny was
people.
saying before that. It's you have to hit your own rock bottom before you can.
Yeah. I think that's what it is. You have to hit that wall
Yeah.
and then you'll like turn around and be like, okay, now I need to go forward.
The pain of rejection, the pain of disease, the pain. It's a great teacher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you let it teach you, and that's why like one of our most popular mantras in the community is prefer pain. Not a lot of people get it.
Yeah.
Some people do. We do. A few
Yeah,
do,
no,
you
I always say like the easy road doesn't exist.
Yeah.
Because if it's not hard, then it's not worth doing and you're not going to get anything out of it.
Absolutely, man.
This is following a trend. We've recorded a few episodes today, but our guests just proved
Yeah.
to us why they should be on this show and why they're members of our community, because we just talked about how hard is good. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, we did a whole show on it a little
Yeah.
bit earlier, and
Yeah.
it's just we all speak the same language. We have the same frequency, you know, and that's what I'm saying. Like we're the minority right now, but it's not always going to be that way.
No.
The tide's changing.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean. And we're here to make sure that it does switch.
Well, look at how many things you guys do on a daily basis that are hard, right? Go to jujitsu, you're lifting weights, you're getting up early, you're raising a family. Like none of that shit's easy. You know, you've clearly taken the harder path, right? You eat healthier. Like these are all the things where most people say,
entrepreneurship. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And most people are like, fuck it, I'm not going to try that hard anymore.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah.
Somebody was asking me the other day, they're like, oh, you put a lot into, the gym. And I go, should I half-ass it?
Yeah.
You know, I got to go fucking all in.
Yep.
When people are like, oh, you ever going to take a vacation? I go, for what?
Yeah.
I go,
That's one thing I always say is when you create the life you love, you don't need a vacation.
need
I don't
like,
need
what am I going to go just sit on a beach in fucking Cabo and drink margaritas?
Yeah.
I don't drink.
Yep.
I can't sit out there and just what am I going to read a book or some shit?
I'm the same, dude. I just had this conversation. I'm the same way. Like, I go on vacation. Like, obviously I have a family, right?
Yeah.
Like, I want to spend time with them. Disconnected and away from all of the hard. Sometimes, you know what I mean. But even on those moments where like I'm sitting on the beach with them, like the itch is there. Like, you know what I mean? The clawing, like the eagle's clawing from the inside. Like I got to be moving. I got to find stuff to do. Before we had children, my wife and I would go on vacation. She loves the beach. She can sit there, read a book, relax. Bro, I'm like meeting the locals. Like I'm trying to go on a fishing trip with like some random guy that like lives on the island. Like I'm trying
it's
to
just
like
the way
do
we're
stuff.
wired. Yeah. I'm the same way. Like when I'm away with my family and stuff, I'm always like, all right, what else could I be doing? How else could I be building? What else could I do to improve my life? Whereas like I admire people who could just sit back, fucking tan. I
feel
don't
the
have
same
that in
way.
me.
I feel the same way. Like I'd probably be not as high strung.
Amanda and I have this like we have a vacation schedule and we go to the shore or whatever. We literally work till like noon and then we go to the beach.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
like our it's like literally our
I do the
schedule.
same.
Like,
Yeah,
it's
I
like
do the
just
same.
Dude, I go to where do you guys go?
Ocean City.
Okay, so
I go to LBI.
all right, so we go down to like Wildwood, Cape May area.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And
Oh,
there's-
really?
Yeah, every year.
You would be a Wildwood guy, that Italian.
I mean, I'm
like-
white trash. So I got to go to Wildwood. They won't
Wildwood's
they won't
coming
let us
up.
in
Are
here.
you, wait, Wildwood Crest or actual
Wildwood Crest. So we'll stay in the
yeah,
Crest. But
yeah,
like, I love Cape May. It is like my favorite part of the world. Like, I want to fucking die in Cape May.
Yeah.
And
We'll make sure we spread you around there. Make sure we spread the ashes. Right?
so I always go to that Attilas gym.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
course,
I think
yeah.
there's one in Ocean City, right?
Yeah, now there is. I used to have a shore house like, in college with Ocean and Magnolia, right? Is the A&W root beer?
Yeah.
still there? Yeah.
Yeah. But that old fucking Guido who owns that place, the guy with the bald head, dude, I'm in there. He's like, you're here every morning banging. I'm like, yeah, I fucking, like he's
of
like an old
course.
school, like, never moved out of the 80s, 90s
Yeah.
type guy.
Attilas is legit, dude.
Yeah,
Like, that's
but
like
I love
that's
that gym. Dude, that's the best part of my vacation. Like, if I'm down there for 3-4 days,
Clang,
it's like
bang.
I'll get up in the morning, I'll go to the gym, I'll lift for like an hour or two because now I'm like, oh fuck, I don't have to be bothered. Like even in my gym, it's like, Ken, could you help me with this? Ken, could you do this? But I'm like, I'm cleaning
It's
up
you
after
time.
people and shit. So now I'm in somebody else's gym,
Yep.
and I could work out for a couple hours, and then I go home and I'll work,
Yep.
like do some shit on my phone and stuff. But like, even on vacation, I'm like, why am I going to stop?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like, body in motion needs to stay in motion. Man.
Yeah.
You can't, like, I don't want to stop the train, dude. I'm careening down the tracks, full head of steam. Like, we're going to keep going.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. We were talking about this earlier, too. When you obviously, you're a hard worker, right? You're one of us. You're putting in work every single day, but do you still have a feeling that you need to do more?
Oh,
that you
my
could do more?
God.
Do you still
Are
have
you
that
fucking
feeling
kidding
like
me?
I haven't worked hard enough?
Yeah. Every day I'm
Every
like,
day, man.
I even look at my gym. I'm like, how do I fill the holes where like there's not other people here? Like, what could I do to fill this hole? And it's the same thing with me. I'm like, if I'm not at the gym by like 6 a.m., I'm like, fuck, I fucked up.
Yep.
Like I'm missing that hour.
Yep.
So
high,
yeah, I think
high standards.
Yeah,
You know what
I
I mean?
think
High
about it-
standards, continuous improvement,
And I'm never always like, oh, what could everybody else be doing? I'm like, how do I improve this?
Mm-hmm.
How do I move the needle forward? How can I inspire more people?
The needle there. Another thing recurring.
Another reference, yeah.
That's an attribute of leaders, though, right?
Yeah.
It's not
Yep.
like you mentioned you're not looking at what everyone else can be doing, but if you're there setting a strong example and leading from the front, you don't have that. Because in my previous life and experiencing other work environments, like not having good leaders, they're looking at their peers or employees thinking like micromanaging, microanalyzing.
Yeah.
When realistically, you're just focused on how can I improve the lives of those around me, and in turn, and naturally building a better experience.
Well, I always think like, how could I burn brighter so that other people around me are like feeling the heat?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Right?
I like that.
Yeah. So I'm like, all right, what do I need to do where people are like, oh, I need to get on this motherfucker's level,
Yep.
and I want to be around him,
Yep.
and like push forward with him. You know?
I love that analogy. Like the lighthouse analogy's out there a lot. You know what I mean? You want to draw people to you and be the light. But I love that. Like, how can I burn hotter?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not only to attract people towards me, but light a fire under their ass to be better too.
For sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I owe some money to the bucket. I cursed on the last
Oh,
show,
Kenny's
too.
in debt with the phone.
Well, no, Kenny's been he's been absolved.
Okay.
This here
This is the curse bucket.
Yeah.
my former chalk bucket from
Okay.
my powerlifting days is
Yeah.
now called the F it bucket.
Okay.
And it rhymes if you're going to say it. You know what I mean? The curse word. And every time we curse, we put money in the bucket, and it goes to Consequence of Habit, which is our nonprofit partner. So
The reason for doing so is we had a community member write in saying how like she listens to the podcast with her kids in the car, and when Joey got that email, he was like, "Dang!"
it was a really heartfelt email about how the show is helping her navigate some difficult situations in her life. And just in passing, she was like, "Oh, I listened to it when I drop my kids off at school in the morning." And I'm like, here I am, like, running off at the mouth. You can do whatever you want, but for me, I just got.
We'll tell her to
now
skip
I
this
think-
episode.
Yeah,
That's
skip
funny.
this one.
Skip it.
But even, I mean, I have kids in my gym all the time. Like obviously, like when you live in New York or somewhere, like, a big city, you don't always have childcare available. So I'm always like, yeah, bring the kid to the gym. We have dogs there, everything, right? I love it. But I'm dropping F-bombs all the time, and everybody's like, there's kids in the room. I'm like, this won't be the first or last time.
Exactly.
I never.
That's how I.
Like my girls, like my daughters,
Yeah.
like they know every swear in the book because they
Oh, yeah.
hear me say it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I don't care. Like,
Yeah.
they know not
On
to
the
say
scale
it.
of shit that they're getting fed,
Exactly.
that's the least.
Listen,
of the
Are we
things
going,
I'm
are we
worried
going
about.
into the school system
I know
next?
this. I know this sounds crazy, but I would rather them hear it from me.
Yeah.
And understand the context and when you can't use it, than some like random kid that they go to school with say it, and then all of a sudden they'll be like, "Oh, that kid's cool" or whatever. When
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like,
yeah. Yep.
like
I
it's
agree.
Same
trash.
thing.
You know what
I
mean?
just like curse. I say everything, but I tell them our rule is only with the boys. So like,
Okay,
like
that's I like that.
so we know is like, all right,
Yeah.
don't go to school and like
Yeah,
this
don't be
shit.
doing it in school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. So we and this is great. We're having a great conversation. Let's bring it back a little bit. So you graduated high school, right? Very differently than you went in.
Mm-hmm.
And then what happens? What happens next after
So I
high
go to
school?
college, and you know what? When I look back, I'm like, I just wish I had a little bit better guidance to be like, hey, you could go do whatever you want, right? Like if I have kids, I'm gonna be like, within reason, and guiding them to help them like do things, because my family, and nothing against them. I mean, those were the times. That's what life was like at that point.
Exactly.
They were like, go become a fireman or a cop or a school teacher or get a good job where you have a pension and benefits. So I went to school with that mentality. And I was just saying to somebody the other day, you're seeing these high school, college kids who are making millions of dollars now on like social media and, OnlyFans and all this bullshit. In my 20s, I still don't know that many people who have millions of dollars, right? Like nobody when we were growing up had money to burn, right? Like you see all these girls jumping on Lamborghinis and shit, being like, oh, this is my car. I didn't know anybody with a Lamborghini. I had one buddy who had a Ferrari. The guy was like 40 years old or something.
Yeah.
And he worked in insurance. He was like selling insurance or something. But he was the only guy, and he was on a wait list for like 3 years. Now you see all these young kids with Lamborghinis and Ferraris and stuff, like $400,000 cars. It's crazy. So I went into college. I wrestled in college. I went to Montclair State.
Did you
I
wrestle
was a D3.
all 4 years in high school?
All 4 years in high school, yeah.
Okay.
So you were like, you got to high school. And you were
I was a
on-
high school stud, college dud. for sure.
Really?
I got my fucking ass handed.
Yeah.
to me in
So
college.
even as a 230, 240 pound kid, you were an athletically built one.
No, I wasn't really that. Dude, I've never
Because
been
there's some
good at
big guys
sports.
that can do some athletic stuff.
Yeah.
No,
Oh, yeah.
I've never been I've never been gifted at anything. Like I had to work my ass off. So when I got to college, it was just like a grind. It was like I had a full-time job at the time. I was working at Port Newark. I was wrestling. I was going to college. I was, couldn't do enough. I was working at a bar, 2-3 nights a week. So I was doing everything and anything I could. I was like, if I want to make a better life for myself, it's never gonna. My family had nothing. My dad declared bankruptcy twice when we were kids. Yeah, so we didn't have much. So I was like, I got to just start working. I got my first job when I was like 12, 13 years old.
Same, man.
Yeah.
Same, yeah.
So then in college, I went to school for art and design. I didn't even know what the fuck I was going to do. I was maybe going to go and, be a teacher or something. Then all through college, I was like, all right, I'll just keep this job that I have at the port.
What were you doing at the port?
I was a checker at the port, so it was a good job. I had all the bullshit that my parents wanted me to have. I hated it. It was miserable. I used to sit at my desk with like a pen, being like, I'd rather jab this in my fucking eye than sit here an hour longer. But I was dating this girl at the time. She was like, hey, let's go try out for this MTV show. One thing leads to another, and I graduated in May of 2005. And then I was on my first show in September of 2005. So 3-4 months after I graduated, I was on television. And I honestly thought, I was like, oh, I'll go do this one show. I was a college athlete at the time. And I'm like, unless some other college athlete shows up, I should be able to win this thing. Because they were like, hey, you could win this money on it. It was like one of the challenges and shit. So I'm like, all right, nobody's ever going to offer me $250,000 ever again to do anything, so I might as well take this. So I left. I started doing that shit, and I got wrapped up in the TV shit for 10 years.
Yeah.
And I was doing that for a while. But there were points in my life, and when I was in college, I'm like, well, maybe I should go and be a trainer because I love being in the gym every day, or maybe I should go and join the military because I just always admired that. My dad was in the Marines. My grandfather was in the Air Force. So I'm like, I should just go and do this. Yeah. And then all the TV shit kind of just took over my life. And thank God I graduated when I did, because I would have never went back if I would have got on TV and then go sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day.
Sure. So for everybody that's watching and listening to TV stuff, what exactly is the TV stuff?
So
Network
I got on
shows.
So I got on MTV The Challenge in 2005, and then from there I started. It just snowballed, and I just kept doing shows. Yeah. And then I got lucky enough. I would do like some commercial work with them, and I was doing. I did some hosting. I hosted a show on MTV.com with the Jersey Shore. I hosted a show, and this is like before podcasting was a thing. Sure, I mean, this was like 2007, 2008. So I started doing a lot of that. I had a show on MTV Geek, which is like it was like the alternative stuff. It was all the Comic-Con and all that shit.
Oh, okay, I got you.
So I was doing that stuff. So I enjoyed some of that stuff. But it was like the hurry up and wait game. The beauty of like podcasting, why so many people do it now, it's like you set up some cameras and you do what you need to do. And you go. Whereas like at that point, it's like you're waiting for lighting and all this stuff. It was like the hurry up and wait game. So it's like all day long shoots. Yeah.
And then you gotta wait for them to come out, right?
What?
You have to wait for them to come out.
Yeah. And it was a huge production. There would be 12 people there.
Sure.
Sure. But during that time, I was just like, I love being in the gym. I always said, if I wasn't sitting here doing this, where would I be? I was like, I'd be in the gym. So that's when I got, it was probably around 2009, 2010 that I got my first job in the gym, just training people. And I had a buddy of mine I went to college with who we wrestled in the semifinals of the regions against each other. He ended up taking third in the state. Savage of an athlete. Great wrestler. His dad was a wrestler, though. His dad owned a wrestling school. So this guy was like bred for this shit. Yeah. My parents were home eating fucking veal Milanese and shit. This guy's up all night doing fucking
double penetration
double
steps.
leg, 10 counts and shit. So we, you know, at that point, he was like, he had gained a bunch of weight. He went to law school, and he's like, hey, he's like, could you get me in shape? Because I was working at this point in college, and you know, when I got on the show and stuff, I was working out all the time. I was looking for trainers everywhere. I'm like, I need to get in the best shape. I'm going on another show. I'm going to be on national television. I got to get fucking jacked. So I was doing powerlifting. That's when I found CrossFit, that, you know, all this shit. It was like 2008, 2009, 2010. I was looking for anything. I got into endurance training. I was doing, you know, 15, 20-mile runs on the weekend. You know, I was doing all this shit. So that's why, like, when I was doing the competitions on TV and stuff, everybody's like, dude, you're really good at, like, long-distance running. But it was, yes, I was working at it, but it just came natural to me. I was never that strong of a guy. I've never been that strong, but it's like, if you were like, yeah, run from here back to Jersey, I'd be like, all right, I can do that. Because it's just, it's more of a mindset.
It's will.
Yeah.
I was kind of the same way. Like, I was never the strongest. But like, my will was there.
Yeah.
So you could like ask me to ride. I actually rode from the Ben Franklin Bridge to Cape May. It's
Holy
like 80
shit.
miles, 85 miles or something on a mountain bike. I'll never forget. It was a ride, you know what I mean?
Shore to shore or whatever.
It was, I think it was for ACS, American Cancer Society or whatever. And my dad had this because my dad's an absolute savage. He had a mountain bike that he bought to ride from our house to work. One day he was just like, I'm not driving anymore. I'm going to like ride a bike from Fox Chase to like Port Richmond.
Uncle Thomas.
But he bought a mountain bike. The tires on the thing were like this, like knobby, like it's not a road bike, right? So when I did this first ride, I was like, borrowed my dad's mountain bike, and I rode it on a mountain bike, but the will was there. You know what I mean? That's a
dude. That the mindset to go and do something like that. I was at the so I'm working with the guys from TRX right now on a couple of different projects, and they the guy who now owns it is like the biggest donor and like runs the Navy SEAL Foundation. So I'm sitting at the Navy SEAL Foundation dinner in New York with this dude who every morning he rides his bike from Westchester down to the financial district every day, 30 miles down, 30 miles back. And I'm like, I go, what are you doing at Rains? He goes, I still ride the bike.
I ride the bike.
I'm like, this fucking guy, you're on a different level, dude.
Again, this is another interesting thing that's coming full circle, but we were just talking earlier that people like us, or the few that are just cut from a different cloth, like are willing to die. Like with starting Fuel Hunt, and prolonged fasting is something I do every once in a while. But my first 5-day fast, I never fasted before in my life. And I told Amanda, I was like, you're going to take me to the hospital before I break this fast. Like I'm willing to die before I quit on myself, right?
You guys are probably around a lot of people like this. I mean, do you tend to see that most of the people who are willing to do this shit, like the way we are, come from basically nothing? Like, you have to have the will to win, right? Because if you're given an easy life and a good life and have everything you've ever wanted, I don't think you're as willing to work as hard.
No, I think that there's a proportion. It's directly proportionate, right? Like comfort and like your craziness, basically, like your will to do, you know, wild stuff. Yeah, it's definitely.
It's almost like a level of adversity had to have been achieved at some point in your life to get you to this point. Like, we had the weight loss journey and things like that. But that's one thing I struggle with my son, is he comes home from his school in suburban PA to a family that loves each other. Like, it's all love in our house, and he's never going to worry about where his next meal is coming from. And it's like, I have to manufacture. I'm like, I told him, man, I was like, I got to manufacture adversity into this kid's life. So I put him through some hard workworkouts, make him take ice baths, things like that. But like, that's my biggest fear, is I raised this entitled prick.
No, it's the truth. Even with when you have daughters, it's like a whole nother.
And that's
level.
even harder, because then you're like, well, I have to take care of them. With a little boy, you're like, I want to make him tough. You know, I'm going to beat the shit out of him. Just you know, give him a hard life.
You have to manufacture the chaos and the hard, because otherwise they're going to grow up coddled. And they're going to expect that everything should be comfortable.
And now for a bunch of guys who didn't have anything, and now it's like, all right, I have this, but like, how do I distribute it just a little bit at a time so they get it? Because we were always like, all right, we got to build so that we could take care of everybody, but it's like, you don't want to take care of everybody too much to the point that they're like spoiled little assholes.
That's the struggle, even with employees and stuff too, right? Like, you got to make them still
Oh, yeah.
want to work hard?
We have like my daughters and I have like a little mantra that we say, and like one of the parts of the mantra we say it before bedtime, like, you know, I'm strong, I'm smart, like all these things, like just to build their confidence and get their mind right. And one of them is like the goal is to be independent, to be self-reliant, you know what I mean, to be resourceful, and when you see a challenge, take on the challenge. You know, like these are like the mindset things that I'm trying to instill in them, in addition to manufacturing some adversity. You know.
I listened to a podcast, Ben Greenfield, one of the health guys I like. Yeah. He had this woman on who she just would just drop. I don't know if you guys heard of this. She would just drop her kid off, her like 6, 7, 8-year-old in New York, and be like, "All right, find your way home." And it was like, "Oh, you found your way home."
So
that's like, and now she's like teaching other people how to do this. Like that's her job now. Isn't that crazy?
That's fucking crazy, because then you're like, I don't want some fucking wacko touching the kid.
I do that on a smaller scale though.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Like if we walk home from school, or if, you know, I take them out and we walk home. Like I live in Center City, Philly, so we're walking all over the place, right? Yeah. I have them lead me back, and I have them lead me different ways back. Or I'll take them some way and I'll stop and I'll say, okay, now how would you get back home? And I let them lead.
But
or like I send them in the store. Yeah, but I'm there. Now I'm a half a block behind. I'm a half block behind, but I'm there. You know what I mean? Or if we're going to the coffee shop, I send them in. I stay outside across the street on the other corner. I give them the money, and I say, okay, you're going to go in. Now my daughter's 6. Actually, she was 5 when I started this. So imagine a 5-year-old with a 20 walking in the coffee shop, ordering an espresso and a chocolate milk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I try to put that in there, that type of adversity.
No, you definitely want them to be hard, for sure.
You just remind me of a story. My dad apparently was doing a great thing. We went to his old neighborhood was Bridge and Pratt, like West Sonoma area. And we were playing in the playground there. And I had like severe anxiety as a kid, probably from my parents' brutal divorce, but besides the fact. And I was like, Dad, I want like a Gatorade. And he's like, all right, there's 7-Eleven like 5 blocks away. Like, go get one. Yeah. And I was like, me? Like, go get one? He's like, yeah. So little I know he was following me in his car, but I was walking through Bridge and Pratt like a hood around here.
Yeah, it's tough area.
And I'm like scared shitless. Yo, that 7-Eleven got blown up the next day. Like literally got like a Molotov cocktail.
Did the Bowens have anything to do with that? Okay, I was just gonna say, because
the crime that happens in Philly like doesn't get reported. Like I was just driving around here. I'm like, holy fuck, this town is hard.
Yeah. You're in a gritty, like you're in an area of the city is very authentic to what Fuel Hunt is, like very gritty, very scrappy.
Yeah, this is as close to like third world poverty.
That's what everyone comes in like, oh my god, your building's amazing. I'm like, yeah, it's like great. You got to risk your life to get in the front door.
I never forget. I had community members in. It was like probably the first year we were here. I had them come in. It was like on a Sunday. They were down visiting or whatever, and there's literally a guy dead on the corner up here.
Holy shit!
Like dude, dead like somebody had just found him, and like the cops weren't even here yet. He was dead as a doornail, and they drove by and they were like, oh my god, like. I think there was a guy dead on the corner. I was like, no. Me going by. I worked in a funeral home for years. I went by. I was like, dude, I dead.
Where do you guys find most of your community members are from? All over?
All over, dude.
Yeah.
One of our first orders ever was from South Africa.
It's wild.
No shit.
So
like
wild.
one of the first orders to ever come through our Shopify.
Global for sure. I think like in the U.S., it's Pennsylvania, Florida, Texas, New York, and California.
Really?
Yeah.
That's fun. That's
you bring up that about Philly, but I mean, I've been to New York a handful of times. It's also a different level of crazy there. Dude.
Oh my
like,
god.
Yeah.
Dude,
like, but not even like a crime thing. It's like
crazy. Homeless, drug addict,
and
degenerate.
just like so fast paced and everything.
It's almost like we have rich homeless people, right? The other day, I swear, as Christ hangs on the cross, there was a guy sitting with what looked like a brand new blanket, with his computer set up. His phone was here, sitting on the street with all the shit plugged into like one of those machines.
Oh.
And he's like on his computer, like actually doing work. And I'm like,
tell me your story, man.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on. You got a new computer. You can't be homeless.
Yeah.
Who's paying this fucking bill?
Dude,
where are you pulling internet from?
It's probably
Well, he's got the charging
Yeah,
station,
probably
right?
got the
Did he get
hotspot
plugged
from
in?
his
He's got a
phone or
hot.
some
Yeah, I was
shit.
gonna say he's got a hotspot.
You ever see the videos of the people like getting out of like their fancy cars to go be home, like dressing up to
Yeah,
be
yeah.
homeless people for the
Yeah,
day?
yeah,
People are fucked up.
yeah, dude. Yeah, man. So let's. Before I do this, you have any other questions? You have anything you want to cover? I'm gonna tell a funny story.
Yeah.
So I don't watch much TV, man.
Yeah.
So like the first time that we met, or at least we were in the same general vicinity. I think it may have been for the Flawless thing, maybe.
Well,
Or
so
you guys met at.
I met Kenny at the CrossFit Games.
CrossFit
working
Games.
for Fit Aid.
Yeah.
And Kenny was just like, dude, he was so fucking fun to be around that weekend. Like we were just having a blast. And Fit Aid does like a party.
They were the best.
Yeah,
Like, they have fun when they go to
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
But we connected there and just like kind of like stayed in touch.
What happened was, because we stayed in touch, we were bullshitting, and then you guys were opening the gym here, but I had liked a bunch of your guys' stuff, and then I ordered something,
Uh-huh.
and then you were like, "Oh, thanks for the support," and I go, "Oh, what do you work for these guys or something?" He's like, "No, I own it." I go, "Get the fuck out of here!" I was like, "You own
The
it?"
algorithm at work.
Yeah, I was like.
Dude, that's
Dude,
how,
congrats. I fucking love the brand because I kept like reposting shit and I bought stuff and I was like, I didn't know that you guys were behind it.
I remember him now that he mentions. I remember me like having that conversation with him.
Yeah.
But that's how a lot of our
Yeah, it's
like
organic. Man.
people, even like of influence, right? Like yourself, like start like their customers, and then we're like, oh, thanks for ordering, and then like even betas are
Yeah, partner, friend.
Dude,
mentor.
I see so many of my buddies, like Jay Ferrugia and Luca and those
Jay.
guys. Like, they're all guys I've been friends with but admired for a long time. And I'm like, when I see them wearing your stuff, I'm like, oh my, like there's something to this brand that it's like pulling in these type of people.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lifestyle, it's a mindset. The rules of the few. I met Jay at BK Live.
Okay.
And we went out to we hit it off immediately. Like he's a hip hop guy, I'm a hip hop guy. I literally
Yeah,
talk to
yeah.
him. I talk to him every day, dude.
Yeah.
So I mentioned, I forget what I said. I was like, oh yeah, I'm on my way to. I was on my way to your expo, and I mentioned you. I was like, oh yeah, I'm on my way to this expo. Kenny puts on blah blah blah, and he was like, oh yeah, like we're boys. Like I love Kenny. And I was like, this all makes sense.
Yeah.
It's like you said, it's pulling everybody.
Yeah, you're
together.
pulling in a lot of good people.
Yeah.
I was watching a video the other day and somebody was wearing one of the shirts and I'm like, it's like everywhere now. It's sick. I love it.
Well, the plan is to continue domination.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
man.
I think because, right, and somebody was asking me the other day, they're like, oh, how do you build a brand? I'm like, well, you have to live it. You have to believe it. Right? You guys aren't just writing cool shit on T-shirts and hoping people buy them. This is something you really believe. This is how you live your lives. This is how you raise your families.
And everything on those shirts is also how we've built this and how we've
Yeah,
gotten here. You know what I mean? So it's like it's all true
impressive.
to life, man.
Yeah. Yeah, you can't like people are always like, "Oh, would you ever move out of New York?" I go, "How do I fucking move out of New York owning a brand that's called Strong New York?" Right? I go, "This is where I'm at. I'm kind of fucking glued here."
Yeah.
Till I figure something else out.
For sure.
Well, thankfully for me, we're not people on Philly, so
Yeah, I know, but you know my story, man.
I'm surprised you
out
guys.
on a
I don't
stretcher.
think I've ever seen you guys put Philly on anything.
no, just the
we've done some Philly
one
stuff.
hard work House of Hard Work shirt.
I mean, like our fight tees for our guys.
Because like having that like Philadelphia kind of
we got
gritty-
some. We got something cooking.
yeah,
We got something cooking.
yeah.
a lot of like old school brands like the hundreds or even like usually use like LA, like they're originators of the space, but
Yeah.
they use Los Angeles on things a lot, like and
Yeah.
stuff. So I mean, we're definitely interested in doing
Yeah,
something
we
like
got
that.
some. We got something cooking. That's the great thing. Like we have the community so large now. We have really great relationships with community members like yourself, right? And
Yeah.
like other really gritty cities. So we're putting together a little something.
cool.
Man.
Yeah.
We're putting together a little something. Yeah. So let's bring this in for a landing, man. It's a great conversation. Two things. What do you got upcoming that you're working on that you want to tell the community about? And then obviously where can they find you?
Yeah. So Strong New York will be on October 5th this year. Hopefully we can get you boys there.
Over there.
We'll be there.
And, we want to kind of push the jiu-jitsu thing a little bit bigger this year. We're going to do a full like kind of lifting competition. So we'll have like amateurs, like basically anybody could come and lift. I got this gym in the city called Tone House. So they're running like a lifting seminar, and then we're going to try to do like a high level, more like pro athlete lifting session there as well. I got some retired Navy SEALs coming in. We're going to do some workouts with like TRX and stuff. We're going to bring back the World's Strongest Man. We're bringing back Owen Roddy, who's Conor McGregor's coach. So I want to build.
He was there at
last
House,
year
right?
too. Yeah. So I want to build up this like experience side, like where you could go and you could work with the best of the best.
I love that.
At this one-day event. Obviously the cold plunging and stuff, getting great speakers in there. So we're going to try to blow it up, get like 5,000 people this year. We got some really fucking great brands that have reached out who are helping us like build it out. We're working with, we had just talked to like Gymshark and a couple big brands. So we're excited about a lot of the people who are coming on board. And then organically, like last minute, like Jim Quick had hit us up, who spoke last year. So I'm looking for those people who are just going to come out of the woodwork and be like, oh yeah, we want to get involved in this. And we have a couple that we've spoken to, so I'm excited about that. And then we'll do like 2 or 3 smaller events leading up to that. So this year at the See Here Now Festival, Springsteen's the headliner. So I'm like, all right, Springsteen in Asbury Park. The guy's 73 years old to 74 years old.
That's crazy.
Doesn't have much fucking time left. I want to do, so a buddy of mine has a gym right around there. So we're going to do this like gym takeover. And, do this whole like kind of Jersey Shore fitness workout thing with a couple brands and stuff. And that'll be like right before the event. So we got a couple like smaller events that we're leading up to. And I just been dumping a lot into the branding and stuff. Just the event is the culmination of like all this stuff. But like like I said, I went to school for art and design. I love it. And I love collaborating with like different artists. A lot of stuff I'm like, oh, I really like this. Let me find an artist who does it this way. But even like the stuff that you guys have given us, like the other day, somebody had the shirt on that you guys did for us last year. And I love seeing that. It's like, all right, this is so cool.
That's what I would say. Like the Strong New York like gear is just is like fucking dope.
Yeah,
like,
it's dope.
It's real streetwear. Like it's not something you're gonna get from your gym and just like wear because it's your gym.
And that's what I didn't want it
it's
to
like
be.
dope shit.
But like, no, I admire what you guys have done. And people are always like, oh, I wear the same shit. Like I wear your guys' stuff, I wear my shit, and there's like 2 or 3 other brands that I support, but I'm always in t-shirts and jeans or shorts or something like that. So.
One thing I want to mention for those listening and that aren't familiar with the Strong Festival, Strong Expo. It is electric there. Like having been there, it's like if you are into health and or fitness, like it's an amazing day.
That's how I always felt about it. Like I go to everything. I've been to FIBO, the LA Fit Expo, the Arnold Classic, everything. And I'm just like, oh, this is so cool that you have all this fitness shit under one roof. And I go, there's nothing in the Northeast. It's so easy. So if you live in like Philly, Boston, New York, New Jersey, Long Island, it's so easy to get there. Like I took a train down here. If I didn't miss my stop, I would have been an hour and 20 minutes. But it's like you could drive into New York. Spend the day, eat healthy food, work out with some great people, meet really cool brands. Like it's the only time you'll get all these
great
people
speakers too.
Great speakers. It was absolutely electric.
Speaking of eating healthy, they're just handing out stuff. Like all the best foods and drinks. Like they're just like, oh, take it. Like,
That's what I wanted. Like I wanted something that like I'd be like, oh, for $100, I'll go and like hang out at this all day. Because think about it this way. You go to Comic-Con will get 300,000 people.
That's insane.
Wild, dude.
Let me tell you something. At the Javits Center, there is nothing to fucking eat. You have this massive space and all they're serving is like buttered popcorn, pretzels, all this shit. I go, imagine coming to an event where it's like you're learning how to live a better life. You're learning how to, make yourself a little bit better than you were
Meeting
yesterday.
people that are doing the same thing, right? You're being supplied with the food and the products that help do the same thing.
And we cut out all the noise and all the bullshit because it's like now we have all the top experts teaching you how to eat, how to live, how to work harder.
It was high vibrations there too. Dude. Like,
Yeah, it was
it's bumping there.
Are you, on the 5th of October, you said, is the next
Yeah.
one? Is it going to be at the Glass House?
Yeah.
Okay,
So we'll
excellent.
be back
That's
at the
great.
Glass
Yeah,
House,
it's
and we're
amazing
taking that
spot.
over, and then, we'll have like free workouts for anybody who's like, oh, I can't afford to come. It's like, all right, well, great. We'll have 2 free workouts.
Yeah.
We'll have some free shit to give away outside. But like when you come inside, it's going to be just an all day. Like
And then
same way
even
we-
bigger focus on jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
This go around.
Yeah, like I've just fallen in love with the sport, and I think like if I ever had kids, it's like the first thing I would throw them into.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it teaches them how to lose, it teaches them how to win, it teaches them to be humble.
Check the
you know?
ego, be
Yeah.
humble.
Teach them how to defend themselves too.
Yeah. I mean, they're to me, the only downside, like even the other day, I'm like, fuck, I don't want to go. Like, I'm just going to get my ass kicked. And then I'm like an hour and a half in, and I'm like, fuck, I could use another half hour.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's
Exactly.
amazing.
And my son's pretty deep into it now, like training about a year. And he's learned so much, and he's already even done like competitions and won and lost.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So like, and losing a competition under the lights, like that crushes you,
Yeah.
especially for a kid that's
yeah.
wet behind the ears and still learning. Like the winning was great, but the like he learned more from the loss, obviously. than he
100%.
would ever lose from
Yeah. No, I mean, I just did another competition a couple
Hey,
weeks ago.
gold, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not
Congratulations.
expecting that because there was like 3 guys. I'm like, this fucking guy's gonna tear my head off,
Yeah.
and I ended up winning. I was like, all right, that was pretty good.
Do you use your wrestling at all, or
Yeah, I mean, I tend to like I don't like being on my back a lot,
Yeah.
and I've been working on that a lot. I was actually just with a guy yesterday who's like a world champion who was, showing me all this shit on my back. I'm like, shit, I never even thought of it like
Yeah.
that. So for me, yeah, it's like I try to take down and get side control as fast as possible.
I've been under that side control. I know what it feels like. I've been under getting side control.
But for me, it's like that's where I go.
Yeah.
And it's funny because there's so many guys that I admire within the jiu-jitsu space who were like okay wrestler, but phenomenal jiu-jitsu guys.
yeah,
Right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, think of the best guys like Nicky and all these guys.
Yeah.
Like, none of them were phenomenal wrestlers, but they're great jiu-jitsu guys.
Yeah. Danny, who you just saw was in here, he's actually my new coach at Movement Art. I saw him yesterday with this kid that wrestled from 4 years old to like state champion, and Danny just kind of shut him down. Like he didn't. He just kind of had his way with the role.
No shit.
Yeah, like, and he's
Yeah.
a jiu-jitsu guy.
Yeah.
He's actually under Mikey Musameshi.
Dude, that kid's incredible.
Yeah, he said Mikey. His exact words are, "Mikey makes him feel like a white belt."
Really?
And he's the best, one of the best dudes I've ever seen.
Well, my coach that I train with, 2-3 times a week, if I'm not in his class, I'm working privately with him. He's awesome. He's a 4th degree black belt. He's been doing it since he was 12 years old. He's right off the fucking boat from Brazil. And his coach is Gregor
Okay.
Gracie. And dude, Gregor beats him up like he's never done jiu-jitsu. Like, it's insane.
That's
I'm like,
crazy.
the levels of skill
I
are
know.
insane.
And your coach probably makes you feel like,
Oh my God, dude, I don't touch him.
Yeah.
I feel like I've never done anything.
I know.
I'm like, why is this guy who's
Completely uncoordinated.
35 pounds less than me beating the shit out of me?
Yeah.
And how old's Gregor Gracie now? Like,
I mean, he's 39, 40?
Okay.
Yeah, he's not that, but he's a monster of a fucking guy.
Yeah.
But there are little guys. I mean, there's so many times, like, there was a little kid maybe a month ago. I was rolling with this dude. I'm like, oh, fuck, I feel bad, like, just throwing this fucking guy around because I, like, picked him up and fucking tossed him.
Yeah.
As soon as we got to the ground, I was like, dude, please don't break my fucking ankle.
that's how it is, dude.
Yeah.
I had that same exact experience with the guy in my old school. He was just a smaller person. I was like, I'm like, for the longest time, I didn't even roll with him because I was like, I don't want to crush this guy. And I finally did. He literally had his way with me.
Yeah.
There's a chick who comes to the gym. She's a fucking savage. She's a purple belt. And they were like, oh, go with her. I'm like, oh, fuck. All right. Fine. Dude, I'm like kind of just going with the flow. And she took my fucking gi and pulled it across my bed. I'm like, I better tap out. 'Cause she's gonna fucking get
You're
me.
going to sleep there.
Yeah, I'm going to fucking
That's
fall
how it
asleep.
is.
But I love that. I think it's so important.
it takes assuming average looking individuals and just literally makes them ruthless killers.
Yeah. But like one of the best things I ever heard, Danaher had said it. He goes, if you're a good person, jiu-jitsu is going to make you a good person, a better person. He goes, if you're an asshole, it's going to make you a bigger asshole.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's the truth. That's the truth.
Yeah.
All right, man, we're going to bring this in. Any other questions? Talk about what you got coming up.
Check out Strong New York and Kenny Santucci.
Yeah, both on Instagram. At Strong
and
New
then
York,
hopefully, fingers
Santucci.
crossed, I just actually went again today. We're hopefully open up a bigger gym in New York.
That's what I'm talking about.
Damn.
So I'm
That's
looking
what I'm
at a
talking
bigger
about.
space. I mean, nothing like this. I would fucking kill that. Man.
An additional space or just moving into a bigger space?
Just a bigger space for the existing gym. So like right now, I have so much. My gym is packed out. I just got 2 new pieces of equipment in there. I have, 7 or 8 coaches that I rent space from. I have 5 of my own coaches. I'm running both businesses, Strong New York and the Strength Club, out of the gym. Yeah. So I'm like, I just need a bigger space, and I found a great space like right around the block.
Nice.
So fingers crossed they accept the offer, and then I could hopefully move this summer and get settled in before I do the fucking event.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
sending all the energy your way for that, man.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Thank you for coming in.
Boys, thank you
for
so much.
all the support, believing in what we're doing, our mission,
You guys
our
are-
community. Thank you, brother. It means a lot, dude. It means a lot.
Golf
Talking
clap.
to you,
No,
bro.
you guys are. I admire the shit out of you guys. So keep up
likewise,
the work.
dude. Likewise.
Likewise. I'm going to leave a few with a reminder. I'm going to sign off.
Yeah.
Always choose hard work over handouts. Always choose effort over entitlement. Remember, no one owns you. No one owes you. You're one of the few. Let's hunt.
I love that.
Bump out, dude. Bump out.
Yeah, bump out.